Research articles are a great way to express your opinion so that many different people will be able to see it. For this video, I'll be talking about 5 research articles that I used for my Summer 2 Exceptional Children's class at ASUBB. The first article was called Fair Does Not Mean Equal, Creating an Inclusive Environment for Students with Learning Disabilities by J. Mitchel, which said, if all students were treated equally, then some students would get left behind, while others would have too much help. While many people believe that putting special education students in the general education classrooms with regular students will in turn help both parties as a whole, but teachers would push students with special needs to do better in order to keep up with their peers, while other students wouldn't feel failure. And oftentimes, adding another teacher into the classroom, preferably a special education teacher, would also help the special needs students further their abilities and keep up with the classroom. There are dangers to integrating these two types of students into one classroom. One of them being the difference in learning could be too great and the special needs students won't be able to keep up. It is also worth mentioning that it would be fairly difficult for special needs students to get accommodated into a classroom and blend in if they were added after the school year already started. Integrating these students at earlier grade levels has proven to be most effective approach so far because both groups of students are learning similar subjects still and the gap in knowledge isn't too far great. Finding ways to help both special needs students and regular students at the same time can be very challenging. Integrating the two groups does seem like a good idea, and the article definitely gives a lot of pros and cons to help weigh the measure. However, the article does fail to mention the opinions of the students themselves. Not all special needs students want to learn at a faster pace. Not all regular students want to learn at a slightly slower pace. Even with this, integrating both types of students can be very effective, and the article shows this by including a real example of when an elementary school decided to merge the schools and how it had a positive impact on the students, mainly because of the early grade level to lessen the knowledge gap between the students. Overall, the article was well written and talks about an interesting subject more people should be aware of. The next article was called Self-Management Strategies to Support Students with ASD by M.A. Schultz. Students with autism spectrum disorder, ASD, often have difficulties when it comes to focusing on a given task. One good way of helping students with ASD is having them self-manage themselves, which promotes independence, competence, self-reliance, and self-awareness. However, self-management in general education is limited, yet it may be what many students need in order to keep up with the class. There are 3 different types of self-management that students can use. One of them is self-monitoring, which is most commonly used for students with ASD and consists of the students setting a goal for behavior change in themselves. The second is self-instruction, which is having the student verbalize the steps of a task they need to complete. The third and final one is self-charting, where the students are responsible for graphing their behavior regularly so they can visually monitor their progress on their behavior. ASD is definitely a problem that would have to be addressed, and self-management might just be the way to address it. Self-management has been proven to work on the past, and it's versatile, so it can fit any student's needs to help them better improve themselves. Self-management isn't just a technique used to only ASD students. It can also be applied to daily life in order to weed out bad habits, making it even more versatile. This article clearly explained all the pros of using self-management for students with ASD, but didn't, however, mention what it could do for the average person. The article did get its main point across clearly and effectively. This article would definitely be of use to any teacher in any field of education. Teachers are some of the biggest influences on students when it comes to behavior. Praising is often one of the most used strategies for encouraging better behavior. Not all praise is effective, however, and encourages good behavior. The article, Teacher Provided Positive Attending to Improve Student Behavior by J.G. Pearl, states that teachers will need to know the 8 components of effective positive attending. The first component is teachers will need to be specific and praise students on what they are doing right in order to show them, the students, exactly what they did correctly. Secondly, teachers need to praise the students immediately after performing the action in order to maximize the performance. Third, teachers will need to be consistent and frequent in order to show teacher appreciation of positive behavior. The fourth step is teachers always need to be aware of positive behavior in students and to avoid conflicts. Fifth, teachers need to think about using positive reinforcement in place of negative reinforcement. The sixth step is teachers should always avoid criticism and reprimands in response to disruptive behavior. The seventh and final step is teachers should focus on the student's performance, and lastly, use ignoring to fix destructive behavior by using what is called differential attention. Positive reinforcement is used fairly often when teaching, but many teachers are unaware of how to use this as effectively as possible. Positive reinforcement can shape even the most unruly students into well-behaved students if used properly. Many teachers will, however, opt to use negative reinforcement as well, and while in some instances that may be effective, it isn't the best means of guiding students to proper behavior. The article explains that positive reinforcement is how to properly use it as effectively as in any classroom. This article would benefit most teachers because every classroom is different, and some classes respond to positive reinforcement better than others. Co-teaching is a fairly new practice that is starting to make an impact on schools across the country. The main purpose of co-teaching is to mix students with special needs into general education so that they can learn alongside their peers. In this article, Welcome to Co-Teaching 2.0 by M. Friend, there are 6 key points to co-teaching that most co-teachers should follow. The first is station teaching, where the teachers divide the students into groups, where the teachers teach each group individually using specially designed instructions when necessary, rotating the students through each group. The second is parallel teaching, where each teacher takes on an individual group of students his or her own way, using different approaches to teaching depending on their students' learning needs. The third is alternative teaching, where one teacher instructs the class while the other teacher instructs students that benefit more from a small teacher-led group. And the fourth one is teaming, where teachers teach students together, contributing throughout the lesson. The fifth one is one teaches, one assists, where one teacher teaches a lesson in the class while the other teacher goes around the classroom helping individual students with questions they might have. And the final one is one teaches, one observes, where one teacher teaches a lesson while the other teacher watches a student, or students take notes to find out if the students are understanding the lesson or not. Co-teaching is causing educators to reconsider different aspects of teaching by combining 2 different methods of teaching, which will in turn help students reach their potential. Co-teaching is a new method of teaching that can inspire educators to find new ways of teaching that they previously couldn't. Co-teaching has also proven to be more effective than the regular method of teaching due to the cooperation of 2 teachers from different fields working together to teach a single group of students. The article gives examples of how co-teaching has benefited schools and how co-teaching has conformed to work with new laws by making slight changes in the delivery. This article would definitely benefit school principals that are considering switching to co-teaching. The final article, Teaching Handwriting to Elementary Students with Learning Disabilities by S. Datchuk, states that handwriting is still very essential even in this age of rapid technology growth. So when elementary students with learning disabilities have trouble with handwriting, many teachers turn to the problem-solving approach to fix a student's handwriting, which is done in 4 easy steps. The first step would be problem identification, which is noticing that there is a problem with the student's handwriting. Next is problem analysis, which would be looking at the handwriting with a careful eye, finding every problem and figuring out why they don't write well. There could be many different reasons why a student can't write well, but the main 3 are letter formation, alphabetic knowledge, and speed. After finding the problem, the next step would be to find a solution. There are 3 different ways to fix bad handwriting, including visual cues, memory retrieval, and isolated motor activities. After finding the solution, the final step would be to implement and monitor the solution to ensure it's working. Many different students struggle with their handwriting, and me especially. While teachers often use many different approaches for helping students improve their handwriting, children with learning disabilities often struggle more when it comes to learning to write and having good handwriting than most other students. Good handwriting depends on many different factors, including letter formation, alphabetic knowledge, and speed. And without this, writing neat and clearly will prove to be near impossible. This article gives many different steps for helping students with learning disabilities learn to fix their handwriting. The article also gives many different steps for fixing handwriting and goes into detail on each individual step, and even uses quotes from other teachers as well. This article would help special educators the most, but would definitely hold some value in general education classes as well for students who struggle with handwriting. These articles focus on many problems that are hard or extremely difficult to handle for most schools. With more and more of an emphasis on how to teach exceptional children more effectively, teachers will have to face many of the problems stated in these articles. But in each article, there is a solution that has been proven to be effective and may one day lead to new ways of teaching.